She walked into my office wearing a $3,000 suit, perfect makeup, and the same condescending smile she wore in high school. But this time, she wasn't here to mock me. She was here to beg. And I held her entire future in my hands. I'm Maya Chen, and this is the story of how the girl who made my life hell became completely dependent on the person she thought would never amount to anything. Hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. This one's wild. 2012, Riverside High School, Los Angeles. I was a sophomore, overweight, obsessed with coding and video games, wearing oversized hoodies every single day because they were comfortable and I genuinely didn't care about fashion. Then there was her, Madison Pierce. Blonde, beautiful, captain of the cheer squad, dating the quarterback, straight out of every high school movie cliché you can imagine. Except this wasn't a movie. This was my real life. Madison didn't do the obvious bullying. She was too smart for that. She did something worse. She was subtle, patronizing. She'd smile sweetly while destroying you. When I'd answer questions in class, she'd whisper to her friends just loud enough for me to hear about how nerdy I was. When I ate lunch alone working on code, she'd walk by with her entire squad and say things like, "Ah, that's so cute. She has her little computer hobby." During PE, she'd make comments about how I was trying so hard when I was literally just existing. She'd offer me diet tips I never asked for. She'd suggest workout routines in this fake concerned voice that made my skin crawl. The worst part? Everyone loved her. Teachers thought she was delightful. Students wanted to be her or be with her. Nobody saw through the act except me and the other kids she'd quietly demolished over the years. Junior year. Our school announced a regional coding competition. First place got a $10,000 scholarship and an internship at a major tech company in Silicon Valley. I'd been coding since I was 12, self-taught. I'd built websites, apps, even a small game. This competition was everything I'd been working toward. I spent weeks preparing, studying algorithms, practicing problem solving. I was ready. Then Madison announced she was entering too. This shocked everyone because Madison had never shown any interest in computer science. She was in basic computer literacy class, barely passing. But suddenly she was all about coding. Her boyfriend, Tyler, was also entering. Tyler was actually good at coding, probably the only real competition I had. And suddenly Madison was his study partner. She made a big show of it. Posted on social media about her coding journey. Talked in class about how she was discovering this amazing new passion. Wore glasses she didn't need to look tech smart. One day in the library, I overheard her talking to her friends. She said, and I quote, "There's no way I'm losing to the fat girl. Tyler's basically doing my project anyway. Can you imagine if she won? Like, what would she even do with an internship? They'd have to see her in person." Her friends laughed. I pretended I didn't hear, but I made a decision right there. I was going to absolutely destroy this competition. Competition day arrived. 15 students from 5 different schools. We had 4 hours to solve a complex coding challenge, build a functional app that addressed a real-world problem, complete with clean code, user interface, and presentation. The problem was about food waste. Create an app that could help reduce it. I built a platform that connected restaurants with excess food to local shelters and food banks in real time, automated notifications, route optimization for pickup, inventory tracking, impact metrics, the whole thing. It wasn't just functional. It was elegant, clean code, intuitive design, scalable architecture. Tyler built something similar but less sophisticated. Decent work, though. Madison? Her app barely functioned. It was clear Tyler had helped her, but even his help couldn't save a project she fundamentally didn't understand. During her presentation, she couldn't answer basic questions about her own code. When the judges announced the results, I won first place. Tyler got second. Madison didn't place at all. The scholarship was mine. The internship was mine. But more than that, I'd proven something to myself. Madison left early. Didn't congratulate anyone, just disappeared. That internship changed my life. I spent the summer after junior year working at a tech startup in Palo Alto. I met people who saw my skills, not my body, who valued my mind, not my appearance. I came back senior year with clarity. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I got into Stanford, full ride, computer science major. Madison went to a private liberal arts college on her parents' money, majoring in communications. We lost touch completely. I never thought about her. I was too busy actually building a life. College was incredible. I interned at Google, then Facebook, then a promising startup that eventually got acquired for $200 million. I was part of the engineering team that made it happen. After graduation, I got offers from every major tech company. But I didn't want to be an engineer at someone else's company forever. I wanted to build something. So at 24, I started my own venture capital firm focused on early-stage tech startups. Small at first, just me and 2 partners, but we had a vision. We wanted to fund founders who were overlooked by traditional VCs, women, people of color, people who didn't fit the typical Silicon Valley founder profile, people like me. Our first 5 investments? 4 of them became profitable within 2 years. 1 became a unicorn. We suddenly had credibility, capital, and deal flow. By 28, our firm was managing $500 million in assets. By 30, over $1 billion. I became one of the youngest female partners at a major VC firm in the country. I was on Forbes 30 Under 30. I spoke at conferences. I guest lectured at Stanford. I had founders pitching me daily, begging for my investment and guidance. And yes, I was still plus size, still wore comfortable clothes, still loved video games, still completely myself. Because I'd learned that success had nothing to do with fitting into someone else's beauty standards. Last month, normal Tuesday morning, I was reviewing pitch decks at my office in San Francisco when my assistant forwarded me an email that had come through our general inquiry address. Subject line: Investment opportunity, fashion tech startup. I get hundreds of these weekly, but something made me open this one. The founder's name was Madison Pierce. I stared at that name for a solid minute. Could it be? I clicked through to her LinkedIn. Same person, same face, though more polished now. She'd spent the last 8 years working in marketing and PR at various fashion and lifestyle brands. 3 years ago, she'd left corporate to start her own company. The pitch was for a revolutionary styling app, AI-powered personal styling for professional women. She was seeking $2 million in Series A funding. Her deck was polished but generic. Lots of buzzwords, limited traction, 5,000 users after 2 years, minimal revenue. Several red flags about burn rate and market strategy. Any other pitch like this would have been an immediate pass, but I was curious. I had my assistant schedule a meeting. I didn't mention that I knew Madison. I just said I wanted to hear more about the company. The meeting was set for the following Thursday, in person, at my office. I had 1 week to decide how I wanted to handle this. I spent that week doing deep due diligence on Madison's company. Not just the basics, everything. Her startup, called StyleSync, was struggling. She'd bootstrapped initially with her own savings and some money from friends and family. She'd gotten a small angel round 2 years ago, but burned through it fast. The product itself was actually decent. Not revolutionary like she claimed, but solid. The problem was execution, poor marketing strategy, unfocused customer acquisition, expensive overhead, Classic mistakes of a founder who understood aesthetics but not business fundamentals. She'd tried raising from other VCs. I found records of at least 20 rejections over the past year. She was running out of runway, fast. This was likely one of her last chances. I also did something else. I went through her social media history. Her Instagram was all inspirational founder content now. Posts about entrepreneurship, resilience, chasing dreams. Lots of photos in stylish offices and at networking events. But I found old posts, too, from high school and college. Photos of her cheerleading squad, her perfect boyfriend, her perfect life. And buried in there, comments on other people's posts, subtle digs, backhanded compliments, the same patronizing tone I remembered. She hadn't changed much. She'd just gotten better at hiding it publicly. Thursday arrived. I dressed normally. Black jeans, nice blazer, comfortable flats. My usual. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I waited in my office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, awards on the shelves, photos with tech CEOs and founders I'd backed. My assistant buzzed. Madison had arrived. She walked in wearing that expensive suit, designer heels, carrying a leather portfolio. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless. She looked exactly like the kind of founder who thought presentation mattered more than substance. She extended her hand with a confident smile, ready to introduce herself. Then she actually looked at my face. I watched it happen in real time. Recognition, shock, panic, all in about 2 seconds. She recovered quickly, though, fake smile back in place, but her hand trembled slightly when I shook it. "Maya," she said, voice just a bit too bright. "Aunt Maya Chen, oh my God. From Riverside? I had no idea you were… wow. What a small world." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, told her to please, have a seat. She sat, crossed her legs, tried to look composed. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I said I'd reviewed her materials and had some questions about her business. She launched into her pitch, professional, polished. She'd clearly given this presentation dozens of times. She talked about market opportunity, competitive advantages, growth projections. I let her finish, then I started asking questions. Not softball questions, real ones, about her unit economics, her customer acquisition cost, her churn rate, her technical infrastructure, her team's capabilities. She stumbled. A lot. She had surface-level answers but couldn't go deep. When I asked about her technology stack, she admitted her co-founder CTO had recently left and she was currently looking for a replacement. Red flag. Huge red flag. I asked why he left. She gave some vague answer about different visions for the company. I pulled up my laptop and showed her the Glassdoor review her ex-CTO had left. It was scathing. He'd written that Madison was impossible to work with, refused to listen to technical advice, made decisions based on aesthetics rather than data, and had burned through their funding on unnecessary expenses like expensive office space and lifestyle branding. Her face went pale. I asked her directly if those claims were accurate. She started making excuses. He was difficult. He didn't understand the vision. He wanted too much equity. The typical founder blame game. I stopped her, told her I'd done complete due diligence. I'd talked to her former angel investors. I'd reviewed her financials. I knew exactly what was happening with her company. StyleSync wasn't failing because of bad luck or a difficult co-founder. It was failing because she'd made fundamental mistakes that anyone with real business training could have avoided. She'd spent money on vanity metrics instead of growth. She'd hired based on cultural fit instead of competence. She'd ignored data in favor of gut feelings. She'd surrounded herself with yes people instead of advisors who'd challenge her. I told her that based on what I'd seen, this was a clear pass. Her company wasn't investment ready, not even close. She sat there, frozen. Then tears started forming in her eyes. Real tears, I think, not manipulative ones. She said she'd worked so hard. She'd given up everything for this company, her savings, her relationship, her career. She couldn't let it fail. She needed this funding. Without it, she'd have to shut down in 3 months. Then she said something that made me pause. She said, "I know I don't deserve your help. I know how I treated you in high school. I was awful. I was insecure and mean, and I took it out on you because you were everything I wasn't. You were smart and genuine and didn't care what people thought. I was so threatened by that." She took a shaky breath and continued. "I've thought about it a lot over the years, how cruel I was, to you and to others. I wanted to apologize, but I was too ashamed. And now here I am, asking you for help after everything I did. I know you have every right to tell me to leave." I sat back in my chair, studied her. This wasn't the confident, condescending girl from high school. This was someone who'd hit rock bottom and was finally seeing clearly. I could have ended the meeting right there, sent her away. That would have been the easy revenge. Watch her company fail. Let karma do its thing. But that's not who I am, and more importantly, that's not what I built my career on. I asked her a question. If I gave her honest feedback about everything wrong with her company, and it was harsh, could she handle it? Could she actually listen and potentially implement major changes? She nodded immediately, said she'd do anything. So I spent the next hour absolutely tearing apart her business model, not to be cruel, to be helpful. I showed her exactly where she'd gone wrong, the strategic mistakes, the financial mismanagement, the hiring failures, the product decisions that made no sense. But I also showed her what was salvageable. The core product was good. Her user feedback was positive. The market opportunity was real. The brand identity was strong. She could save this company, but she'd need to make brutal changes. Fire half her team and rebuild with actual technical talent. Cut her burn rate by 70%. Pivot her marketing strategy completely. Bring in experienced advisors. Give up significant equity to a strong co-founder. Stop treating this like a lifestyle brand and start treating it like a business. She listened to everything, took notes, asked clarifying questions, didn't make excuses. At the end, I told her I still wasn't investing, not yet, but I'd make her a different offer. I told Madison I'd give her 3 months. I'd personally mentor her on rebuilding her company the right way. I'd make introductions to technical co-founders. I'd review her strategy decisions. I'd help her cut costs and refocus. In exchange, she'd give me a small advisory stake in the company, not an investment, just equity for my time and expertise. And at the end of 3 months, if she'd actually implemented the changes and shown real progress, I'd consider leading her Series A round. But there were conditions. She had to be completely transparent with me. She had to be willing to make hard decisions even when they hurt. She had to admit when she didn't know something instead of pretending, and she had to treat everyone on her team with respect and value competence over everything else. She asked why I was doing this, why I'd help her after everything. I told her the truth. My fund existed to back underestimated founders, people who'd been overlooked or dismissed. And yes, she'd been the one doing the dismissing in high school. But right now, she was a female founder in an industry dominated by men, struggling to raise capital in a system that makes it incredibly hard for women. I didn't agree with how she'd run her company. I didn't forget how she'd treated me. But I believed people could change. And more importantly, I believed in building the kind of world I wanted to see. A world where competence, character, and work ethic mattered more than appearance, pedigree, or who you knew. If she was willing to do the work, I was willing to give her a chance. She started crying again, said thank you over and over, asked when we'd start. I told her we'd start right now. I pulled up her financials on my screen, and we began going through every line item. Those 3 months were brutal, for both of us. Madison had to fire people she considered friends. She had to move out of her expensive office into a co-working space. She had to admit to her remaining investors that she'd made mistakes and was making major changes. We met twice a week. Every meeting, I challenged her assumptions. Made her defend her decisions with data, not feelings. Pushed her to think strategically instead of reactively. At first, she struggled. She'd revert to her old patterns, making decisions based on aesthetics, avoiding difficult conversations, trying to please everyone. I called her out every single time. Slowly, she started to change, really change. She found a technical co-founder through my network, a brilliant engineer from Google who believed in the product vision. She gave him significant equity and actually listened to his technical guidance. She rebuilt her team with people who had real skills, even when they weren't the cool-eyed, stylish hires she'd preferred before. She cut her burn rate by 65%. She pivoted her marketing to focus on ROI instead of brand awareness. She implemented metrics and actually paid attention to them. Month 2, she had to make the hardest decision yet. Her best friend from college was head of marketing and was actively hurting the company. Not maliciously, just incompetent. Madison had been avoiding dealing with it. I told her she had to let her friend go. She cried, said she couldn't do it. It would destroy their friendship. I asked her what mattered more, her company succeeding and potentially helping thousands of women, or preserving one friendship with someone who wasn't qualified for the role. She made the call that night, lost the friendship, but found a talented marketer who tripled their conversion rate within weeks. By month 3, StyleSync was actually working, not just surviving, thriving. User growth accelerated, revenue started climbing, churn decreased. The product improved dramatically with real technical leadership. Customer feedback was overwhelmingly positive. But more than the metrics, Madison had transformed. She'd learned to lead with humility, to admit what she didn't know, to value substance over style, to make decisions based on data and expert advice, not ego. She'd become the kind of founder I actually wanted to back. We had our final review meeting on a Friday afternoon. I went through all her numbers, her progress, her changes. Then I told her I was in. I'd lead her Series A, $2 million at a fair valuation, and I'd bring in 2 other VCs from my network to join the round. She didn't cry this time. She just smiled, a real smile, and said, "Thank you." But then she said something that surprised me. She said working with me these past 3 months had taught her more than her entire business career. Not just about running a company, about being a better person. She said she'd spent her whole life focused on surface-level things. How she looked, how her company appeared, what people thought of her. She'd never developed real skills or character because she'd never had to. Everything had always come easily because of her appearance and charm. Until it didn't. Until she entered a world where those things mattered less than actual competence. And when she'd failed, she'd had nobody to blame but herself. She said, watching me operate, seeing how I'd built real respect through real excellence, had shown her what she'd been missing her entire life. 6 months after that investment, StyleSync raised a successful Series B from a major VC firm. They're now at 200,000 users and growing fast. Madison built an incredible team and actually listens to them. We're not friends, probably never will be. Too much history. But we have mutual respect built on her willingness to change and my willingness to help despite that history. She sent me a handwritten note last month. In it, she apologized again for high school. But she also said something that stuck with me. She wrote, "I spent years thinking I was better than people like you because I fit society's image of success. I was pretty, popular, had the right look. But you were building real value while I was building an image. When that image wasn't enough anymore, I had nothing. You taught me that character and competence are the only things that actually matter. Everything else is just noise." That note is framed in my office, not because I need the validation, but because it represents something important. People can change, but only if they want to. Only if they're willing to do the hard work of becoming better. Madison could have stayed bitter, could have blamed her failures on the market, on investors, on bad luck, could have kept making the same mistakes. Instead, she chose to learn, to grow, to become someone worthy of success. Here's what I want everyone watching this to understand. This story isn't about me being a hero or Madison being a villain who got redeemed. This story is about what actually creates lasting success. In high school, Madison had every advantage: beauty, popularity, social status, confidence. On paper, she looked like someone destined for success. I had none of those things. I was overweight, nerdy, socially awkward, focused on things people thought were weird. But I had something else. I had skills. I had work ethic. I had the ability to create real value, and I had the character to keep going when things got hard. Those things matter infinitely more than appearance, more than popularity, more than fitting someone's image of what success should look like. Madison learned that the hard way. She built a company on surface-level appeal and it almost failed. She rebuilt it on substance and it succeeded. The same principle applies to everything: careers, relationships, life. You can coast on appearance and charm for a while, maybe even a long while. But eventually, reality catches up. Eventually, people see through the packaging to what's actually inside. And if there's nothing inside, if you haven't built real skills, real character, real value, you'll fail. Maybe not immediately, but inevitably. So if you're watching this and you've ever been underestimated because of how you look, here's what I want you to know. Your appearance is not your limitation. It's other people's limitation. Their inability to see past the surface is their problem, not yours. Stop wasting energy trying to prove them wrong. Invest that energy in becoming undeniably excellent at something that matters. Build skills they don't have, create value they can't imagine, develop character they never bothered to cultivate, become so competent that their opinions become completely irrelevant. And when they inevitably come back, whether to ask for help or just to acknowledge they were wrong, you'll have a choice. You can choose revenge, or you can choose to be the person you wish they'd been to you. I chose the latter, not because Madison deserved it, but because I deserve to be the kind of person who lifts others up, even when they once tried to tear me down. That's real power, not the power to destroy someone who hurt you, the power to help them become better while staying true to your own values. I'm Maya Chen. I run a billion-dollar venture capital firm. I'm plus size. I still love video games. I still wear comfortable clothes. And I'm successful not despite these things, but because I never let them define my worth. My worth comes from what I've built, who I've helped, and the character I've developed. That's what actually matters. Everything else is just noise. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what you're building while everyone else is focused on superficial garbage. I want to hear your story. Thanks for watching. Now go build something that matters.